'cause you're powerful when your name is called.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Reclaiming My Life. Y'all, today's show is like none other. Today, I have my handsome husband joining me, Mr. James Massey. Welcome, baby.
Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome.
Pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, look, I got a different feeling. It's a different vibe going on today.
Yeah, you too. You looking, yeah. Yeah, amen.
Look, y'all, let me tell you, we're here and we're talking about reclaiming my life. We're talking about the trials, challenges, and trauma we experience in life, how we overcome and reclaim our lives. And today, my husband is here to share his testimony of the challenges that he experienced after retirement from the Army and how he reclaimed his life. Yes. Yeah. So, husband, look, y'all, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to try not to get emotional today, because although this was, 7 years ago? Yes, 7 years ago, when I hear and we talk about the challenges that we went through, it's still very emotional.
It is.
So 2018, you retired after serving 29 years. So, you know what? Before we, get into all of that, tell our viewers a little bit about your journey.
Okay. So my journey began as a high school senior in 1989. After graduating high school, I took 17 weeks of training to become a military policeman. I was a member of the Virginia Army National Guard during my senior year. So after training, becoming a military policeman, I came back home, attended a few classes at a community college, and had a full-time job as a delivery driver for an auto parts company. Throughout that year while working, especially leading up to Christmas, my unit was alerted to go to Desert Storm, which was a shock to several folks, to include myself. But again, we had been doing the training, we were prepared, and we were ready. Fast forward during that deployment, and I stayed on. I had an opportunity to come on active duty, or join active duty, and I did. Elected from there. So that 2 years of the National Guard and my 27 years of active duty make up my 29 years of service to the nation.
Wow. Thank you so much for your service and your countless sacrifices.
Thank you.
Yes. So now 29 years. Wow. That's a long time. I know you've seen a lot, you've done a lot, you've held a lot, and then in 2018 you retired. And tell us, how did that feel?
2018 in retirement. To be a retiree is a great accomplishment. Very proud, happy, and my family was more happy than I was, in fact, of, again, accomplishing that feat. Home, no more formations, no more phone calls, no more inspections, no more of a lot of stuff. Happy time, to a point, and to a point where my happiness turned to darkness. I became depressed. I became a recluse. I would get up during the day and then I go get back into bed. Instead of being out and being excited about embarking upon the day, I faced some challenges. Severe depression, severe withdrawal, and I needed some help. And in the beginning, I didn't see it. But of course, you and the family saw it, and it took my loving wife to, pull me in close. With an attentive ear, I had to listen and go, hey, we need to go talk to somebody, because this is what I'm seeing, this is what the family's seeing, and yeah, this isn't healthy.
Yes, and Thinking back to that time, I just want to let our viewers know that I think it was probably about 3 months, because a lot of you all may want to know, well, what is it that you were seeing, or why, didn't you say anything sooner, But of course, we have to realize that, hey, 29 years is a long time, and my thought process was, okay, I'm going to allow my husband space, he needs this transitional period to adjust, to civilian life, because like you said, there were no more of a lot of things for
Right.
you, your norm.
Roles change, responsibilities change, focus
Yes,
change. Yeah.
yes, yes. So your new norm now, so I was trying to allow space because again, like he said, I was happy, but you were going through your emotions,
Right.
and for me, it was like I have my husband home, and now we can do this, and now, it was I had all of these plans, and I wasn't really thinking about. You're not happy about this, you
Right.
know what I'm saying? It was bittersweet,
It was.
bittersweet, and then of course I think after 3 months of seeing, wait a minute, okay, yes, it is a lot of laying in the bed, the blinds are closed, snapping at us, right? Y'all see how I said that right? Snapping at us, and just a lot of mood
Mood
swings. There were a
swings.
lot of mood swings as well.
Mannerisms.
Yeah,
Right.
mannerism. Until one day, I had to go to my husband, and I want to say this, y'all. This is very important. Y'all know I'm a life coach as well. I had to go to my husband, and take my husband's hand. First thing,
That's right.
take my husband's hand. That's saying, I love you. That's saying, you know, we're going to get through it from the start, right?
Right.
I'm coming to you with love, baby.
That's right.
Because what I was feeling, I'm really, y'all, to be honest, I was a little upset. I was getting mad and,
Frustrated.
yes,
Yeah.
frustrated, and to be frank, sexually frustrated. There were a lot of different frustrations going on. With I called it attitudes. You ain't doing this and you ain't doing that and blah blah this and
Right.
blah blah that. Until I had to say, you know what, Claudia? Wait a minute. I had to go pray, for weeks, pray and plan, listen to God, and realize how are you going to approach your husband. Because had I gone to my husband with how I was feeling with, look, I don't know what your problem is, you know what I'm saying, because that's what I really wanted to say, right?
Right.
That's what I really wanted to say, but I went to my husband, with love and soft spoken, and said, babe. And that's exactly what I did, babe. Look, something's going on. And from there, you know, he was, I want to say that you were glad.
Yeah. It's almost.
He felt relieved, like, okay, like, when were you going to say something? I need help. I'm suffering. And what we talk about often here on the show, suffering in silence. And that's exactly what he was doing. You were suffering in silence. And when I went to him and said, I see this. And husband, I see, and I don't know, you're not talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
From that moment, my husband let everything out. Everything. I mean, y'all, a lot of people say, hey, they think men don't cry. He let it all out.
I did.
All out. And from there, we said, what are we going to do? This is not your journey, husband. This is our journey. What are we going to do? And from there.
And from there, again, counseling. And I'll share this, that, for years, it's men, male machismo, trying to eliminate or avoid a stigma. Professionally, a stigma. Oh, you going to seek mental health. That's a career killer. Or, that's, they're going to move you from the unit and move you somewhere else. You're going to see the wizard. You're going to see the doc. Again, fast forward, it's for your overall health. Most important, again, I was in a bad place, and I was wrong for putting my family in that position as well. So
You
seeking
know,
help was excellent move. One of the best things that ever happened. And here we are today.
yes. And babe, I wouldn't say you were wrong, for putting us through that. That's one thing we have to realize when we are depressed, and that's one thing I said to you. I was saying to you, I want this and I want that, But when we are depressed, we can't show up for ourselves, more or less show up for
For anyone
someone
else.
else. So, no, you weren't wrong, for what you were feeling. Because mental health is real.
It is.
I've been depressed. When I lost my mom, I was in a place where I couldn't show up, because, and it's not that I was wrong in doing it. I didn't have the strength to do it. I didn't have the mental capacity to do it. So look, y'all, you're not wrong. Sometimes we feel bad about it.
Feel bad about
Yes,
it.
definitely.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because I've apologized to my daughters many times, and said, look, y'all, I realized I wasn't asking y'all, how do you feel that you lost your grandma? What are you going through today? I did my best in what I could do,
Right.
And with what I was going through. So look, we're going to be back. I know, mental health month was last month, but mental health goes on every single month.
Absolutely.
And, last month was also Military Appreciation Month. And let me tell you, I appreciate you and all who are serving. But we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be right back with more of my hubby, James Massey.
My mother is one of the strongest people I know. It wasn't necessarily because she was in love, but really again, she was looking for a way to escape the abuse. We unfortunately became homeless.
The doctor said we both almost died.
So I suffered. I suffered in silence.
From there on, she became my momager. We started traveling all over the world.
And nearly 8 years later, I'm sitting here as my mom's business partner.
Then we started something called Quartet Unstoppable.
If she says she's gonna do it, she does it.
It seems like everything you touch turns to gold.
Everybody that was raised around her is doing good in life.
I began to really admire and respect her. I was instantly motivated.
I'm talking about a full-blown production, lights, camera, action.
I'm so thankful that Claudia and I crossed paths. Claudia always go over and beyond.
But for someone who's been hurt so much, she only wants to help you.
My mom always finds a way to count everything joy.
All right, y'all. Welcome back to Reclaiming My Life. Look, so we're sitting here today with my husband, James Massey, and we're talking about depression and just transitioning from
Military service.
military service. Thank you, husband. I tell you, two is better than one. Military service and from military service to being civilian. Yes. So, husband, how did you start reclaiming your life?
So again, I began reclaiming my life. Again, seeking help. Not only seeking help, but again, you have to be an active participant within the sessions itself. So I had one-on-one counseling with a mental health specialist, psychologist. From there, transitioned to group sessions. Several other military veterans, same service. We had members from Vietnam in the groups, and that went on for about 6 to 8 months, and even today, some of us are still in chat groups talking. And at the end of the day, it becomes again, iron sharpens iron. Can't say it anymore. Some of us have similar experiences, others different. Again, Vietnam to again Iraqi freedom and enduring freedom for Afghanistan. Tremendously different, however similar. You're still in armed conflict, or have gone through armed conflict. You still have been exposed to some things, good, bad, and indifferent, that had effect on you. A lot of us learn to compartmentalize, keep stuff in, not not share it, especially with family members, because you don't want to upset them or put them in a place, and next thing you know, it'll be breaking news on your local news network, and folks will be outside of Air Force bases, military installations, rallying, and a lot of experiences. But again, even today, I'm glad that I took that first step. I'm glad that you were there to support me. The family was there to support me as well, and continue to support me through this process.
Yes. You know what? You said, you don't want to upset family, but he knows I'm big on communication. Look, I'll worry him what's wrong. But look, we're not going through that anymore.
I'm not going to let go till you bless me. Do the Jacob piece. Amen.
Yes.
So again, it's the dialogue, again, even today, it's folks will send a chat. Hey, how you doing? It's check on your strong friend.
Yes.
Is paramount. We have to do it again, because the alternative, we've seen it, unfortunately, that folks have unalived themselves for various reasons. And sometimes you think if someone had made a call, somebody had rang the doorbell or
Yes.
knocked on the door, to check on that friend, potentially they would still be here today. So it's very important for iron to sharpen iron, for folks to check on one another, to make sure that your strong friend remains strong.
Yes.
And if not, we have some experience as well, that helplines and the internet, telephone, again, put them in the vehicle and take them, or call a non-emergency line. But if it's an emergency, call the emergency line.
Yes.
Have them do a health and welfare check. It's very important.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. You know what? And thank you again for being here today to talk about this and share this, because, this is necessary. So many of our military family members are going through this, and they're still suffering in silence. So by you being here, and they saying retired First Sergeant Massey, he went through this. It gives me hope that I can reclaim my life. So thank you so much. Let me ask you, what were some of the highlights of your journey in the military? 29 years.
Traveled a lot of places, whether combat or non-combat. Again, to go peacekeeping missions in places like Bosnia and Kosovo. And you interact with, now everywhere you go, kids are gonna be kids. Kids internationally have an affinity for American culture. They like candy. They like comic books and coloring books, and so on several of those deployments, we had the opportunity to engage within the community. So it's a coaching, teacher, and mentoring thing. Again, we're here, it's peacekeeping, but we had book drives and clothing drives, through the unit, the rear detachment and family support. So we would get packages in, and then we go out in the villages that we engage. We're being safe, we're being proactive, but at the same time, we engage, and English is a second language. Most countries that we went to, that initiative was going. So again, we were in classrooms and engaging with folks. So that's always been a plus. Even again, I transitioned to the combat side. Kids are kids, so they like cookies and candy, and if you have it, hey, they're gonna engage you. And again, you have to be proactive. You have to be careful, because the enemy will try to exploit that as well. But I can say all of my service, interacting, in the communities, interacting forward deployed, tremendously positive. Again, there were some issues as well. Again, it's armed conflict, so unfortunately, that's the price of war.
Absolutely.
And we lost some folks. You're in protected vehicles that are designed to safeguard you, but again, the enemy is always trying to exploit. And isn't that something? Even in our daily lives,
Right.
the enemy is always busy.
Yes.
Always trying to, kill, steal, and destroy.
Yes, absolutely.
And we have to be armored.
So what do you do today to give back?
So I mentioned again, my career of service was military police, so that's law enforcement. And as you know, ma'am, this old vessel here, this body not what it used to be. So again, I learned a new term in transition called crepitus, and that's when you hear bone on bone. It's like Rice Krispies or Snap Crackle Pop. Again, so the mind is sharp and the heart is strong, but this body not what it used to be. So from the law enforcement side, I wasn't getting in a police car chasing after anybody, trying to protect and serve anymore. So the last 3.5 years of my military service, I had a special duty assignment. Special duty assignment was that of an assistant inspector general. So IGs deal with fraud, waste, abuse, mismanagement, and they normally serve as the eyes, ears, kind of voice and conscience of a directing authority, the boss, the CEO. So I had an opportunity in 2020 to be assigned as a position within the Army as a civilian doing that same job. And it's beneficial. It's blessed. We serve roughly 38,000 military and civilian employees within that command, and we do our very best to do the nation's bidding.
All right, amen. Look, y'all, I'm clapping because that's when he started reclaiming his life.
Amen.
You know, sitting at home was not for him. I thought he wanted a break, 29 years. Nope. And that's something that we have to realize,
Right.
Sometimes just sitting idle, it makes us more depressed. But when we're out there and we're busy and being productive, that can definitely keep our mind, occupied and
Focused.
yes, and focused. So, I'm clapping because I saw the change. You're like, hey, this is my way of giving back. This is my life. This is what I do. So yes, all right, Mr. IG.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes. Look, so and when I asked that question, I was also thinking in terms of, giving back to those who are still on active duty.
Absolutely.
I know within our church, there's a ministry.
Right.
If you want to touch on that real quick for me, because I actually also want you to, before we end, to highlight some people, during your journey. So if you can tell, about the ministry that you're spearheaded. And then I want you to highlight some people who actually have really touched you during your journey.
Like the family initiative, Reclaiming Arena's New Life Ministry, gives back to the community. Again, service is important to me. Community service is important to me. So there is a unit that deploys on rotation every 9 months. That unit is based out of Fort Gregg Adams, Virginia. They are quartermasters, and they have the unfortunate duty of providing mortuary affairs support when, in fact, one of our dearly departed soldiers are lost in conflict. They're charged with custody of their remains, the careful care and custody of their remains, and returning them back to their loved ones so that they can have a proper burial funeral. With that, I think that's a very important job, like all jobs in the military, especially in the Army. So because they deploy, we try to enhance their morale as best as possible. So spearheading an initiative in cooperation with the church, we collected goodies, sundry items, so toiletry items, snacks, things that they can enjoy again. And they're forward deployed in the Central Command area, so it's 7 countries within the Middle East that these soldiers serve. It's 29 of them. Again, they're on a 9-month deployment, so the next rotation will be in August for the new group. Again, we're just trying to do our best to enhance their morale, show them some love from home, and do what we can do.
Yes, and I love that, and I love that you're spearheading it, because I know that you know how much it means to receive those care packages.
Absolutely.
Yes. So 29 years. Highlight some people who have truly influenced you. People that you've lost.
Right. So with Memorial Day having just passed, we lost several soldiers that were near and dear to us. Again, we lost a medic, and I highlight Jessica Ann Ellis, a corporal out of Bend, Oregon, who was embedded with us as a medic. Again, she's supposed to, her job and position, our Florence Nightingale, if you would. Somebody gets hurt, she's there with a bright smile, full of love, attending to the care and custody of an injured soldier. And unfortunately, we lost her and several other folks during the deployment to Iraq. And she was like the unit's little sister, even though we called her Doc. So she was a young specialist, but again, a bright light in a dark world. So I definitely highlight her as well.
Yes, thank you for that. Thank you for highlighting her. You know what? I tell you, we don't love up on our military families enough. Y'all just heard a snippet, of the things that they go through, experience, the hard work they put in daily, the people you lose. Please, y'all, love up on our military families.
Thank you
Please
for their
do so.
service.
Yes, thank them for their service, their sacrifices. Husband, I thank you. I thank you. I thank you so much for being here today on Reclaiming My Life, just to shed a little light on the military life and how you reclaim your life and what military families go through. So thank you so much.
Thank you for your platform and thank you for your love.
Yes, indeed. I love you, baby.
Love you.
Y'all, until next week, y'all tune in, same time, same place. I'll see you then. Be blessed.
My mother is one of the strongest people I know. It wasn't necessarily because she was in love, but really again, she was looking for a way to escape the abuse. We unfortunately became homeless.
The doctor said we both almost died.
So I suffered. I suffered in silence.
From there on, she became my momager. We started traveling all over the world.
And nearly 8 years later, I'm sitting here as my mom's business partner.
Then we started something called Quartet Unstoppable.
If she says she's gonna do it, she does it. It seems like everything you touch turns to gold.
Everybody that was raised around her is doing good in life.
I began to really admire and respect her. I was instantly motivated.
I'm talking about a full-blown production, lights, camera, action.
I'm so thankful that Claudia and I crossed paths. Claudia always go over and beyond.
But for someone who's been hurt so much, she only wanted to help you.
My mom always finds a way to count everything joy.